Legal fees, when are they deductible? A taxpayer cannot deduct legal and professional fees paid or incurred in a taxable year, even if they are shown to be ordinary, necessary and reasonable and meet the other requirements herein discussed, unless the taxpayer can show that the expense was paid or incurred in carrying on a trade or business. Whether the taxpayer's activities amount to engaging in a trade or business is a factual question. The code does not provide any specific definition of trade or business. There are, however, literally hundreds of contradictory cases, which interpret the term in different ways. In general, the taxpayer must be engaged in an activity on a continuous and regular basis, rather than intermittently or sporadically, in order to qualify as engaging in a trade or business. One indication that a taxpayer is engaging in a trade or business is that he devotes a substantial portion of time to the business. A taxpayer is engaged in a trade or business while acting as an employee. However, it is preferable for an expense to qualify as an expense that is related to a trade or business other than the trade or business of being an employee, because legal fees that are related to the trade or business of being an employee are miscellaneous itemized deductions, which are subject to the floor and the overall limitation on itemized deductions. Moreover, a taxpayer that is subject to the alternative minimum tax is precluded from deducting certain expenses, including attorney's fees that would otherwise be allowable as miscellaneous itemized deductions. A taxpayer is not engaged in a trade or business if he engages in investment management activities on a full-time basis, although such expenses, including professional fees, may be deductible under the rules for expenses incurred for the production of income. In addition to the requirement that the taxpayer be regularly and continuously engaged in business activity, the taxpayer must also be engaged in the activity with the predominant purpose of making a profit in order to be engaged in a trade or business. In order to be deductible as a trade or business expense, an expenditure must be both I, ordinary and II, necessary. Since there is no fixed rule as to what expenditures will constitute ordinary and necessary expenses, the question is treated as essentially one of fact, and thus no broad generalizations regarding what expenditures will qualify can be made. The ordinary and necessary requirements should be fairly easy to meet for most legal fees, since the taxpayer will generally have good reasons for using such professional services. Legal expenses that otherwise qualify for deduction are deductible only as long as they are also reasonable in amount. The regulations indicate that expenses coming must be reasonable in amount and must bear a reasonable and proximate relation to the production or collection of taxable income or to the management, conservation, or maintenance of property held for the production of income. The fact that a service provider renders or provides a legal or other professional service to the taxpayer in a particular tax year does not mean that the fee can be deducted in that year. Deductibility depends on whether the fee is paid or incurred in the taxable year in which the deduction is sought, which, in turn, depends upon the taxpayer's method of. Another requirement for deductibility is that the expenses that the taxpayer seeks to deduct must be those of the taxpayer and not of someone else. Thus, generally, a corporation must incur legal and other professional fees for its own benefit and cannot deduct fees incurred only for the benefit of its stockholders. Legal expenses, however, and amounts paid by a corporation in defending or settling suits against employees arising out of the business are deductible by the corporation since such expenditures are deemed to be for the benefit of the corporation incurred for the production or collection of income. The commissioner argued unsuccessfully that the payments were capital in nature.